Call on Government Order of the Day number 35.
Taxation, Kiwisaver, Homestart and Remedial Matters Bill, second reading.
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, I move that the Taxation, Kiwisaver, Homestart and Remedial Matters Bill be now read a second time. Mr Speaker, as the title of the bill suggests, there are two parts to this tax bill. The first part supports the government's Homestart package for New Zealanders saving to buy their first home by extending the current Kiwisaver withdrawal rules for first home buyers from the 1st of April 2015. Mr Speaker, currently Kiwisaver members purchasing their first home can withdraw their contributions they and their employer have made to supplement the deposit on a first home. But what this bill does is allow them to also withdraw their member tax credits. That will give those Kiwisaver members who have been in the scheme for 5 years access to an extra $2,500 or an extra $521 per year to pull together that deposit. They will not, however, be able to withdraw the government's $1,000 kickstart contribution, and this is to ensure that the member's Kiwisaver account remains open and active after the withdrawal of the eligible funds for their first home deposit. These proposals are part of the government's broader program of assisting New Zealanders to pull together that all-important deposit for a home, and it's also about incentivising the land development sector to produce more homes in an affordable range. Mr Speaker, this is the most generous support that government has provided for people wanting to own their own home since the days of the state advances loans and at a time when people were able to capitalise their family benefit. If you take, for instance, a typical couple in Auckland earning the average wage, they, after a period of 5 years, would now have access to $35,000 out of their Kiwisaver, and added to that the $20,000 grant from government, they will now have, with no other savings, access to $55,000 to put a deposit on a new home. Mr Speaker, when you add these schemes together with the Welcome Home Loan that enables an exemption from the Reserve Bank's loan-to-value ratios, would mean that person would now be in the marketplace to be able to afford a home in Auckland up to $550,000. That is a real step forward for Kiwi families that are having that challenge of being able to own their first home. But Mr Speaker, this also package needs to be seen aligned to the real challenge we have that was identified by the Productivity Commission. What it said is that over the last 30 years, because of difficulties in getting land subdivisions through the RMA, there's been a real switch to new homes only meeting the very high end of the market. Well, I'll give Mr Twyford the numbers. In the 1970s, 37% of homes, new homes that were built, were in the range of 37% of homes, new homes, were built below the median price. Now that figure recently got down to just 5%. And so the government is saying we need to reform the Resource Management Act to make it easier for the development sector to produce more affordable homes, but we also want to feed the demand element and actually provide an incentive for that sector to produce homes within these price ranges, under $550,000 in Auckland, $450,000 in places like Christchurch, and $350,000 in centres like Southland. Mr Speaker, this is a very good program, and I was intrigued during the election campaign when members opposite said they oppose this. and they spoke to one of those sort of Fox Pop opportunities where they spoke to a young person. They said they really like this policy because it empowers young people to go buy the home they want rather than having to get a home that was, in Labor's view, to be built by the state. And we are a party that believes that people should have the choice and that the market should be able to have the incentives to produce, whether it be the townhouse, whether it be the apartment, whether it be the quarter-acre section, that actually New Zealanders want, and our policy provides for that flexibility. Mr. Speaker, I've received letters, I've met with hundreds of young New Zealanders who will welcome the introduction of this incentives on the 1st of April, and as I've said, the strongest support that a government has provided for first home buyers in more than a quarter of a century. Mr. Speaker, the second part of the bill focuses on making sure tax rules are applied consistently and fairly, in this case in relation to new rules applying to Veterans Entitlement Scheme contained in the Veteran Support Act 2014. To ensure that the income replacement payments made to New Zealand veterans are taxed correctly, the bill introduces several amendments to the Income Tax Act 2007 and the Kiwisaver Act 2006. The proposed changes will make it clear that veteran income replacement payments will be treated in the same way as ACC income compensation for taxation, for social policy and for Kiwisaver purposes. The amendments also clarify that Kiwisaver deductions can be made from veteran income replacement payments, but the Kiwisaver automatic enrolment rules and compulsory employer contributions will not apply to these payments. These proposed changes will take effect from the date of enactment, with the exception of the corrections to the retirement lump sum supports, which will apply from the date of the enactment of the Veteran Support Act 2014. The amendments are important to give veterans receiving income replacement payments clarity on the correct tax treatment of those payments and doing it in an equitable way so they are not disadvantaged. Mr. Speaker, these are the main two proposals in the bill. In addition, I wish to advise that I shall be introducing amendments to the bill by way of a supplementary order paper at the committee stage of the House. The reason for these amendments are to further enhance access to the Kiwisaver first home withdrawals with some technical corrections to the drafting. Mr. Speaker, the issue there that will be dealt with in an SOP is that the government is very much wanting to provide the incentives for new homes. And one of the practical difficulties for a Kiwisaver who's withdrawing their money is that the current law doesn't give them access to the money to put down a deposit on a new home construction. And that SOP will make that easier, and that will enable us to be able to use the Kiwisaver scheme and these withdrawal tools to be able to support the construction of new homes. Mr. Speaker, can I conclude by thanking the Finance and Expenditure Committee for its consideration of the bill and the recommendations that it's made on the basis of those submissions. I commend this Taxation, Kiwisaver, Homestart and Remedial Matters bills to the House.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Grant Robertson.
Thank you very